Thanks, man. See you guys later.
Okay, remember guys, I had AFib 2 days ago, so take it easy on me.
That's right, I had AFib 2 days ago, and now I'm racing. Stupid or not stupid? Well, I'll leave it to you. I do have a video of my 2-day AFib adventure in the description below. Check it out. This video is going to be a little bit longer because there was a lot of action going on. Not only that, there was tactical decisions made by myself and by my competitors that warrant some discussion, and hopefully some feedback from each of you. As we end our promenade, let me start with the basics. We have 12 in our group. 6 are from one team, Body Concepts. They are not the only team with multiple riders. I also have a teammate, and that's Gilberto, 73 years old. He's a past 65 plus district champion, and I also learned just before this race that he was also a multi-year national road race champion in Colombia. I'm guessing an age-related masters group. Early on, Body Concepts, using their numerical dominance, started attacking. This was actually the first attack, and Gilberto, in the blue and white uniform up ahead, he covered it. Having 2 people to cover 6 was not going to work, especially since one of those 2, me, was not going to be doing a lot of work. I was feeling good. The sodium channel blocker that I'd taken to convert out of the AFib, I think was pretty much filtered out. But, you know, I had AFib 2 days ago, so I'm just going to be careful. Actually, my plan was to keep a close eye on this guy that's right in front of me, Robert Naporalski. Time trial Robert. Give this guy 3 meters off the front, and he is gone. He just aged up into the 65 plus category, and of course he's on Body Concepts. My teammate Gilberto again covered another attack. I'm not rushing to get on those guys' wheels that just passed us. I'm staying on Time Trial Robert's wheel. Time Trial Robert likes chasing things down, so I figure he'll connect us like he's doing right now. If you look at the Body Concepts rider in the front of the pack toward the left, that's Matt Peters. This is where he starts to take off, and he just kind of slowly rolls off the front, and he establishes a break. This is at about 6 or 7 miles into our 52-mile race. I figure, and probably Gilberto too, that no need to chase after him. Again, you can't chase everything, and this is a long way to go for one person. Now, if it was Time Trial Robert out there, then I'd be going after him. Still, you can't have Matt going 20 plus miles an hour while his teammates are forcing the pack to go about 12. So Brian from Visalia goes to the front in order to keep Matt in sight. Now he didn't want to catch him, he wanted him to burn out there a bit, to use up his energy. So maybe rather than have 6 teammates, they'll have 5 3/4. Now Brian couldn't keep this up all day, so I tried to recruit some others. Now I didn't want to ask Gilberto because he's already been covering some stuff, and we never really talked at the beginning about who we're going to win for. We're basically just trying to do the best that we can, and we're doing the basic teamwork stuff. At one point I saw this one rider with some pretty big legs, and he's from down south, Brad. And he went to the front, he was doing some pulling, so then I tried to get them to communicate with each other so they can maybe like take a minute pull each, that type of thing. That really didn't happen on this first lap, you know, the up and back. So I was hoping that they can institute it on the second lap, but we never got the chance. With about 6 miles to go to the end of this first of 2 laps, Brad in the white decides to make a move. He's quickly covered by Cat 2 Kevin. That makes me nervous. There's a lot of strong riders on the Body Concepts team. As I get ready to bridge, I see that now that Cat 2 Kevin has caught Brad, that Brad has slowed up. So that makes it a little easier for me. I can now no longer afford to just watch Time Trial Robert. After my teammate Gilberto covered Cat 2 Kevin's attack when he tried to kind of sneak off the front, he bided his time a bit and then decided to put a move in on his own. Matt Peters has been solo for about 12 miles or so. He probably has something like 2 to 3 minutes on us. Gilberto is fresher, but at 73, that's a big ask. Now he is covered by Body Concepts' James Walcher. So probably what would happen is that James is going to sit on his wheel because he has his man in front to protect. So that would mean that Gilberto would have to chase the whole way, and should he be able to catch Matt Peters, be able to stave off any counterattacks by a fresher Jim Watcher. Of course, we could have the situation where one of the independents from the pack try to bridge up, connect with them, and work with them, but if that was to happen, probably one of the Body Concepts would be on their wheel too. A few minutes later, high and to the right, Brad attacks, and he's being covered by Cat 2 Kevin. May I say at this point that we do have a center line rule in effect. Now this is causing consternation in the pack. and now everybody's chasing after them. The situation is, we have Matt Peters from Body Concepts on a solo break. We have a two-man chase group that's just been established with my teammate Gilberto and Jim Watcher from Body Concepts. Next we have Brad and Cantua Kevin from Body Concepts chasing after them. As for myself, I'm on Body Concepts' wheel as they're trying to chase down Cantua Kevin and Brad. Body Concepts eventually dials back, and now the Cantua Kevin Brad breakaway is established. With my teammate now ahead, I am now a blocker. Or rather, in my case, I'm just going to ride wheels. Jumping ahead just a bit, it looks like Cantua Kevin and Brad have caught Jim Watcher and my teammate Gilberto. Tactically, Body Concepts from that chase is still not supposed to do anything. Brad and Gilberto to be put on them to go and chase their other teammate, Matt, who's way up ahead. So it may be that everyone just slows up there and that we reconnect. My buddy Bob goes to the front and he's pulling everybody up to those four. However, as I get a closer view, there aren't four. We just have the two. And the two that are coming back to us are going to be Jim Watcher and my teammate Gilberto. That means Brad and Cantua Kevin will continue their chase. Actually, Cantua Kevin again is not going to chase because he has a teammate to protect that's way up ahead. Brad has to do all the chasing. With my teammate back in the fold, and we are on the climb which is leading to the turnaround point, which is actually going to be our finishing climb when we finish this race, I decided to go to the front and try to connect with those guys. My AFib be damned. I don't have any data to show you because my fancy schmancy wheels don't have any power on them. I'm not only old, but I use old equipment. For power, I use a power tap hub. At least it's wireless. I used to have the wired kind. Now I got some distance on them as I was approaching the top of the hill, but over the top of the hill I'm pretty gassed, so now I'm actually just coasting a bit on the downhill part, and then I start up again. Now my buddy Bob, who's been chasing me and now catches up to me with a couple of other of his teammates, and the rest of the pack comes up later on. So now we have this other climb which is going to lead to the finish. We're about a 1K out from that turnaround, which is again 1K out from the eventual finish line. At this point, I am kind of recovering. The Body Concepts rider, they're pretty much keeping up part of the pace anyway, but then we have one of them that just attacks. I gotta go with him because we need some representation up in front. Gilberto is gassed from the work that he's done, including this latest attack. I've been sitting on wheels most of the day trying to get others to do some work. John Morengo and I are now chasing after Cantua Kevin and Brad, who are chasing after Matt. John is trying to get away from me. I'm trying to stay with John. I need to stay connected with John when we get to the top at the turnaround because there's a descent on the other end that he's just going to drop, and that's going to kill me if I'm not connected to him. We see that Cantua Kevin and Brad are just ahead of us. So the question is, why is John pulling so hard? Now, I'm having a hard time getting on his wheel. I'm only like a couple bike lengths apart that you can see right now, but it's so hard for me to get connected to him that sometimes I have to stop pedaling, recover on the descent a little bit, and then start pedaling again. It may have been here where I hit my max of 166 beats per minute. Based on last year, I thought my max had slipped down to like 163, maybe 164. Well, this was a nice surprise. So I finally catch him, and when I catch him, I see that Cantua Kevin is by himself in the front. So John lets off the gas, makes me go to the front, which is now my responsibility, and then I go bring Cantua Kevin back in. For the next 2 or 3 miles, I'm just riding wheels. No need for me to go in the front. These two have to go chase Brad because Brad's chasing Matt. And it could be, because Brad is looking pretty strong, that he's going to catch Matt. And if he catches Matt, it could be that he drops him. So now, these guys finally let up because if you see in the little insert in the lower left-hand corner of my rear view camera, that he has a couple more teammates coming up. So now we're joined by Time Trial Robert and my buddy Bob. So now, for a few miles after this, I'm riding on their wheels. We have a 4-man time trial that I'm in the back of. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned tactics and questions I was going to have. So the question is, what was the appropriate action for me to take? Just sit in back of these guys and let them do the work to carry them up to Brad, who's chasing Matt, and if he caught Matt, there was a chance that he was going to drop him. Or do I work with these guys in order to get Matt back? Well, this is what I chose. Sitting back and just ride the wheels. While you're thinking about that feedback to give me in the comments below, you'll notice now that there's 2 ahead of me and 2 behind me. It first started off with my buddy Bob trying to take me off the back when his rotation took him to the back, and then he just sat in back of me. Then 3 of them pulled. So what was happening with 4 of them were pulling, where it seemed like Brad was starting to come back just a little bit. I mean, I can see him. And then after they started pulling with just 3 and Robert in back of me, or I should say my buddy Bob in back of me, then Brad became out of sight. My second tactical question for all of you is, should the Body Concepts team kept all 4 riders in the front to pull? Because they had to protect their win. So at a certain point they had the 3 in the front like I was mentioning, and we were losing sight of Brad. Body Concepts decided to work in pairs, and I'm not sure what that meant. I was told this later on by my buddy Bob. And what they seemed to do is take their focus off of Brad and put their focus on me. Specifically, they're going to attack me until I got dropped. You all probably know this, but 4 to 1 are not great odds. We are about 6 miles from the last turnaround, which will lead us to the final 13-mile leg that'll take us to the finish. And this is actually a second attack. Let's just take a moment and see how many there actually were. In the beginning, with this first set of attacks, I actually had a little bit of help. So here we have Cat 2 Kevin going off, and now John Marengo is going after him. So now I don't have to do that big jump, I could just stay on John's wheel. At this point, it got harder for me, because John was about to connect with his teammate again, and they yelled at him from the back, "Don't do that." So now, I've got to do it. I've got to do it for the rest of the 13 miles coming in. I think that's Time Trial Robert up there. I take my time getting up to him. Like NorCal Cyclist says, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and I don't need to use any extra energy by popping up to get up to him. This also has the advantage that if I'm taking my time to get up to him, the ones in back of me won't be inclined to attack because I haven't reached him yet. At least that's what I'm hoping. And that seems to be the correct thing to do, as evidenced by attack number 10. Now, I'm getting pretty worked at this point, and so I have a choice. And I think I make the wrong choice, but I don't think any choice would have been a good choice. I stay on the wheel of Time Trial Robert. Going up ahead is John Marengo. Now, I was thinking that I could handle him on the climbs, and this is my buddy Bob now doing another attack number 11. This actually was kind of a godsend because I can get on his wheel a lot quicker, and that gave me a little bit of extra rest. Actually, I think that's Cat 2 Kevin because he's doing the serpentine thing, and I remember him doing that before. So he's bringing me back up to John. Right now I'm starting to count the miles, and there's a lot of miles to go. So I'm going to try and hang in with these guys as best I can. And here comes my buddy Bob with number 12. John sees there's a bit of a gap between he and I, and he decides to pop up to my buddy Bob. This definitely helped me. These attacks are getting hard to answer. John goes off the front. Again, I have to pick and choose. I'm hoping he's going to be easier to bring back. It all depends on how the table's going to be set now, so to speak. Basically, the table setting is patience and seeing what comes out. What came out was John got a lot more distance, and so Robert decided to put an attack in order to get up to him. What happened during that time, between the last attack and this attack, is I got to rest. And when Robert took off, I had a shorter distance in which to get onto a wheel. Now, I get onto his wheel, and he's starting to slow down, of course. But John is still... he's within sight. We have another strong counter coming from my buddy Bob, and I can't answer that right now. I need to get out there because this is a decision point where I either stay back or I try to get up to those guys. So at this point, that's 3 up the road and 1 in back of me. And all I'm thinking about, all this distance I have to still go to the finish, and with the rest of the peloton behind me, they're going to catch me, and then I'm going to be in an even worse result. With all that on the table, I'm able to muster a little more energy and go back to my slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I work my way up to those guys. As soon as I make contact with them, John makes the right move and puts in a counter. Not only that, but he gets a teammate to go with him. So, same situation. I have 2 up ahead, and I'm back with 2 that are just slowing me down. So, the little choice that I have, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Number 24 seemed to do the trick. I needed a rest. He slowly went off the front, and that's John Marengo, and I was hoping to get some legs back, and then I could try and bring him back. When I did get some energy back, I started the slowest, smoothest, fast type of thing, and I was keeping him at bay and not wanting to get up there too quick, but also not having a lot of energy to do much more than what I was doing. And I still had 3 others in back of me. My chase went on for a few miles until I had to slow, and when I did, number 25 came. Attack number 26 saw me lose another rider. I just couldn't get on this guy's wheel. As we hit the little dip before the last part of the final climb, I see what seems to be their teammate up ahead. So I go to the front, and now I'm pulling again. I thought it was John, but it was actually someone else that I just lost track of. So as I pass this guy, as we all pass, I'm thinking, hey, you know, this could be 5th place for me. Worst case, 5th place, and that'll put me onto the podium. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I love my picture taken when I am up on the podium. So what was my plan now? How am I going to beat these 2 guys? I'm going to beat Cat 2 Kevin, and I'm a Cat 3, and beat my buddy Bob, who's a sprinter. All this while I was pulling for miles recently. I gotta say, just being able to be on their wheels at this point is a win for me. I remember weeks ago thinking that I was feeling behind in my training. Looking to the front, Cat 2 Kevin is leading. At this point he starts jumping away, and now I'm going to jump after him. Well, at least I'm going to try. But such as it was, Bob jumps away from me, there's nobody behind me, and that 5th place podium appearance that I was looking forward to, well, I actually ended up 6th. So I got my t-shirt, I got my $2. It was a great day. I'm also still in sinus. Alright, comment your feedback on those tactics. Comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek. Epilogue. Just as I predicted, Brad caught Matt. Brad passed Matt. Brad beat Matt by 2 minutes. Matt came in about 1 minute ahead of us.